Hello, my name is Mark Sandoval, and I am the Health Ministries Director of the Gulf States Conference. And in this segment, we are going to be looking at the impact that the mind has on developing infections from infectious diseases. We know that the mind has a very strong impact upon physiology, or the proper function of the body, and upon its pathophysiology, or its dysfunction. But have we realized how powerful this impact is and what implications it has for one's susceptibility to infectious agents? As an example of how powerfully the mind can affect the body, imagine that you are walking down the road and suddenly you see a large, unfamiliar dog racing towards you with a wild look in its eyes and foaming at the mouth, ready to attack. What happens? The information from your eyes is sent to the cortex of your brain, where the mind processes the information, becomes aware that there is danger. In response, the mind sends signals through the lower brain and then to the rest of the body through the nerves, and these signals cause your heart rate, blood pressure, blood glucose, blood lipids, and blood clotting factors to increase. Your muscles tense, your pupils dilate, blood flow to your muscles and brain increase while blood flow to the skin decreases, your bladder relaxes, digestion slows or stops, and a host of other responses take place within a fraction of a second. All of these things change. Why? Because you thought that you were in danger. Every function in the body is regulated in one way or another by the mind. In order to maintain proper function, certain processes and factors must be kept within certain limits. For example, in order for you to be healthy, your fasting blood sugar levels need to be in the upper 60s to 80s, and that's milligrams per deciliter. And if your blood sugar levels go much higher or lower than that, you will have dysfunction. The more glucose levels deviate from normal, the more severe the consequences will be. When you have any body process or function or chemical concentration that must be maintained within a certain range, the process of maintaining that normal range, avoiding going too high or too low, is called homeostasis. Homeostasis attempts to maintain normal ranges for all essential chemicals, like glucose and fats and proteins, minerals and vitamins, but also for all essential functions or processes or parameters like blood pressure, blood flow, heart rate, digestion, respiratory rate, temperature, cellular metabolism, immune function, and so on. And the thing that senses all of these things and responds in order to maintain proper function is the mind. Now, don't be fooled. The brain is not the mind. The mind includes the brain, but is more than just the brain. Research shows that the actual structure and function of the brain can be changed by thoughts, including increasing or decreasing neurotransmitter release, altering neurotransmitter receptor concentration, and growing or removing connections between neurons. The mind includes the spirit in combination with the brain, as we see in Genesis 2 and verse 7, and it is the mind, including the physical structure and function of the brain, that controls the rest of the body and its functions. Not only is the structure and function of the brain managed by thoughts, but the expression, the turning on or turning off, increasing or decreasing of genes is influenced by thought as well. In science, we are aware of what is called the placebo effect. The placebo effect is positive expectations of the patient regarding a treatment, which causes the treatment to have a more positive effect than it otherwise would have. This must be taken into consideration when testing a new drug to make sure that the effect of the drug is not simply because the positive expectation of the patient brings about healing, because it can. For example, one study took 84 female room attendants at 7 different hotels and randomly put half of the participants in the study group and half in the control group. The study group was instructed that the physical activity that they were participating in on the job actually met the Surgeon General's recommendations for adequate physical activity, while the control group was given no such instruction. Biometric data was gathered before and after the 4-week study, and physical activity in and outside of work was monitored so that they made sure nothing changed. After 4 weeks, with no increase in physical activity, the study group lost weight, decreased their blood pressure, decreased their body fat, their waist-hip ratio, and body mass index compared to the control group. And the apparent difference between the two groups was that the perceived benefit of the activity they were already getting. As their perception changed, so did their physical response to the activity they were already participating in. The placebo effect itself, which is a function of the mind, led to positive physiologic changes as seen in their data. In another study, 30 patients that were allergic to dust mites were given a 5-day trial of an allergy pill to take with this unusual tasting liquid. The allergy symptoms, skin prick testing, and the activity of basophils were all measured on every participant before and after the 5-day trial. Then they were given a 9-day washout period to allow the medication to be eliminated from the body. And after that period, they were split into 3 groups. One group was given water and a placebo pill. Another group was given the unusual tasting liquid plus a placebo pill. And the last group was given water with an actual antihistamine pill. Everyone who took the antihistamine pill had a reduction in their allergy symptoms, decreased skin prick response, and decreased basophil activation, as you would expect. The group that had the water and the placebo pill also had reduced allergy symptoms and decreased skin prick response, but there was no change in their basophil activation when they were tested. But the group with the unusual tasting liquid plus a placebo had a reduction in their allergy symptoms, skin prick testing, and basophil activation to the same degree as the group receiving the antihistamine pill. This study shows that people can suppress their immune response to allergic stimuli based on what they think or expect. And this effect was similar in degree to the effect of the allergy medication. This is powerful stuff. Now, what does all of this have to do with the topic of this presentation? Similar to the examples given above, the mind is able to control the immune system's function to either make one more or less susceptible to infectious agents. Let's look at a few examples from the research. In one study, 24 women ages 57 to 60 received a flu shot, but before receiving the vaccination, one group was instructed to focus on a negative event in their life, divorce, death of a loved one, and so on, while the other group was instructed to focus on a positive event, marriage, birth of a child. 6 minutes after this thought experiment, each person was given their flu shot. Blood samples were taken before vaccination, 2 months and 6 months later, and at 6 months there was significantly more antibodies to the flu vaccine in the group who practiced 6 minutes of positive thinking compared to the group that practiced 6 minutes of negative thinking prior to getting their vaccine. In other words, 6 minutes of positive or negative thinking can impact immune function for at least 6 months to come. Not only can attitude impact whether you respond to a vaccine, but it can impact how susceptible you are to a virus. In a study of 193 adults ages 21 to 55, each participant was evaluated for positive emotional style, happy, lively, and calm. And confounding factors were assessed as well, like negative emotional style, cognitive and social situation, and self-reported help. Participants were then exposed to rhinovirus and influenza virus via nasal drops and were then quarantined and observed for signs of upper respiratory infections. The study showed that the greater the positive emotional style, the less one developed upper respiratory infections when exposed to the rhinovirus or influenza virus. On the opposite side of the equation, other studies have clearly shown that psychosocial stress decreases the immune response, and some studies are showing that there is a variation in how individuals respond to stress and the effect that it has on the immune function. Those that mount a greater fight or flight response to stressors have a greater suppression of their immune function, including decreased circulation of immune cells and decreased production of antibodies to infectious organisms. This indicates that those who are more anxious and over-responsive to psychosocial stress cause a greater decline in their own immune function and are at greater risk for developing infections when they're exposed to an infectious agent such as a virus or bacteria. Infection is not just about exposure, it has to do with susceptibility. Even a small percentage of those exposed to the very virulent Ebola virus do not develop any infection or symptoms associated with that exposure. And one's attitude and thoughts have much more to do with their susceptibility to develop an infection when exposed to an infectious agent than many suspect. What attitude or thought patterns would make someone the most resistant to developing an infection when exposed to an infectious agent? From the available research, it seems clear that it would not be thought patterns that revolve around guilt, loneliness, rejection, dejection, failure, self-hatred, and so on. It would be thought patterns that we need. So what do we need? Well, love is a basic need of humanity. I've traveled to many countries and spoken to many audiences around the world, and I have asked most audiences this question: is there anyone here who does not need love? I haven't found anyone yet that acknowledged that they don't need love. Everyone recognizes that they need love, and there are various aspects of love. Love includes mercy, justice. It includes security and harmony. It includes acknowledgement, acceptance, belonging, compassion, and understanding. It includes patience, forgiveness, joy, and peace. All of these and more are aspects of love, and every human being needs love. Do you need a love that is selfish or a love that is unselfish? Do you need a love that is limited or a love that is unlimited? Do you need a love that is partial or a love that is full? Do you need a love that is temporary or a love that is constant? We all need a love that is unselfish, unlimited, full, and constant. How many people need love? Well, everyone. If every person needs love, how many people can produce love? No one. You cannot produce that which you need. If you could, it wouldn't be a need of yours. Just as you need oxygen, water, and food, and you cannot create or produce that in order to take it in to live, so you need love, and you cannot produce or create the love you need in order to survive. It must come from outside of you. What kind of thought patterns promote the best immune function and the least susceptibility to infection when exposed to infectious agents? It is a thought pattern that is exclusively based upon love. You see, we were created in the image of God, Genesis 1:27, which means that we were created to think like God thinks. God is love, 1 John 4:8. He is unselfish love, and when our thought patterns are based upon unselfish love, that provides just what the mind needs in order to control the body's functions properly. When love is the basis of your thoughts, then the result of that is joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. Nothing can disturb your peace. Nothing can push your buttons. Nothing can cause you to respond in a negative way. You are at peace with an abiding joy in your heart. This experience of love will do more to protect you from infections than any amount of quarantine or medication could. But where do you find this love? Only in the Bible. Only in the Bible do you read about a God who loves you so much that he pursued you to death in order to save you. And he did so when you hated him, despised him, ignored him by doing what you wanted to do and didn't want anything to do with him. He did so not because you deserve his love, but because he knows you need his love. The good news of the love of God, the gospel, is real medicine for real disease and sickness. Do you want to be safe in the current pandemic and future pestilences? Your safety is found in God and in his word. Read the Bible to know him. When you know him, you will love him. And when you love him, you will take from him all that love you need so that you can give it away to others. Your joy will be complete and your healing will spring forth speedily, as we're told in Isaiah 58 and verse 8. For a more thorough study on this topic, you can find the book, The Law of Life, on Amazon. But most importantly, read your Bible. My name is Dr. Mark Sandoval, here with the Health Ministries Department of the Gulf States Conference, and I want to encourage you with this word. Take control of those thoughts by the God-given power that God has given to you. Put your mind on the Word of God. Trust in His promises, and that will be medicine to you that you can't imagine. God bless you.